29th seed at Wimbledon, the first Filipino ever. Not first this year, first in history. Over 100 years of that tournament, and not a single player from the Philippines had ever walked in as a seeded player. Not one. And when word reached Manny Pacquiao, the greatest Filipino athlete to ever live, he went on national television and said he was proud of her. She's 21 years old. She learned the game from a grandfather who isn't alive to witness any of this. And she's only just getting started. Here's what you need to understand about the Philippines and tennis. In almost every other major sport, Filipinos have a figure to look up to. In basketball, there's an entire culture built around it. In boxing, there's Pacquiao. But in professional women's tennis, there was nobody. Not a single Filipino woman had ever cracked the WTA top 100. Not one had ever reached a Grand Slam main draw as a seeded player. There was no path, no blueprint, no veteran you could call and ask how they did it, what it felt like, what to do when things got hard. There was simply nothing there. So when a little girl in Quezon City picked up a tennis racket at age 4 and fell in love with the sport, she wasn't following anyone's footsteps. She was about to carve her own. Her name is Alex Eala. Most people outside the Philippines still don't know that name. They're about to. She grew up around a country club in Pasig, and this isn't a story about a privileged kid who had everything handed to her, because tennis never works that way. Her first coach wasn't a professional. He wasn't a former tour player. He was her grandfather, Roberto Manalac, known to everyone as Lolo Bob. A club-level amateur, a man who loved the sport and loved his grandchildren even more. Every single day, he showed up with a basket of balls and fed them to young Alex and her brother Miko on that court in Pasig. Every day. No days off. No excuses. Just a grandfather who believed in something he couldn't yet prove. At 12, she won a prestigious junior event in France called Les Petits As. Someone at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain took notice and offered her a full scholarship to one of the most elite tennis academies on earth. She was 13. She packed a bag and left home. Sit with that for a second. 13 years old. New country, new language, new culture, and no Filipino player who had ever walked that road before her. Nobody to call who truly understood what she was stepping into. She left the court in Pasig, left the grandfather with his basket of balls, and flew to Spain to find out what she was made of. And Lolo Bob stayed behind. He passed away in 2019. He never saw what was coming. He never saw Wimbledon. None of it. But she never forgot a single thing he taught her. By 2025, the tennis world was starting to take note of Alex Eala. She was climbing the rankings, picking up wins on the smaller circuits. Insiders knew her name. Outside the sport, outside the Philippines, almost nobody had heard of her. Then came Miami. The 2025 Miami Open. She entered on a wild card, meaning she hadn't even qualified outright. They handed her a spot because they wanted her in the draw. Her ranking at the time, around 140th in the world. She was about to face the best players alive. She beat Madison Keys, the world number 5. Then she stepped onto the court against Iga Swiatek, the world number 2, a player who had dominated women's tennis for years and a multiple Grand Slam champion. And Alex Eala, a 19-year-old wild card from the Philippines, ranked 140th, beat her. Back home, it felt like a national holiday. Social media exploded. Every sports channel was talking about her. She wasn't just a tennis player anymore. She was a symbol. Proof. The answer to a question 115 million people had been carrying for years. Can one of us actually compete at the very top of world sport? Then came Rome, the Italian Open, just weeks after Miami. The whole world was watching now, waiting to see whether Miami was real or just a lucky run. A player named Marta Kostyuk dismantled her, 6-0, 6-1. Eala dropped the first 10 games of the match in a row. The Rome crowd watched it happen live. The cameras caught every second of it. The girl who'd just beaten the world number 2 was being taken apart in under an hour on television. Suddenly, every doubter's question was loud again. Was Miami just a fluke? Here's what Alex Eala did after Rome. Nothing dramatic. No press conference promising revenge. No emotional unraveling. No announcement that she was overhauling her game or firing her coach or reinventing herself. She went back to work, quietly, methodically, the way Lolo Bob had taught her. Feet on the ground. Stay coachable. Keep working. Then the 2026 grass season arrived. She went to Birmingham and won the tournament, her second professional title. Then she headed to Berlin, again as a wild card, ranked in the low 30s, walking into a WTA 500 draw that included Elena Rybakina, the world number 2, and another Grand Slam champion, two of the most dangerous players on any surface on Earth. Eala beat Rybakina. Then she went right back out and beat the other Grand Slam champion as well, two major champions, back-to-back, on grass as a wild card. Greg Rusedski, a man who played professional tennis for over a decade, who reached the world's top 5, who competed at Wimbledon more times than most people can count, said publicly on record that beating those two players back-to-back was deeply impressive, that it was only a matter of time before her breakthrough arrived, and that the grass suits her game because she's left-handed and her slice serve pulls the ball away from opponents. He added that he couldn't wait to see how her opening match at this year's Wimbledon would unfold. A former world top 5 player said he couldn't wait to watch her play. Let that sink in. But here's the part nobody's saying out loud. Wimbledon isn't Birmingham. Wimbledon isn't Berlin. Wimbledon is the biggest tennis tournament on the planet. The draw includes Aryna Sabalenka at number 1, Elena Rybakina at number 2, Iga Swiatek defending her title, Coco Gauff, and the reigning French Open champion. These are players who've been winning Grand Slams for years, players who train for this exact moment every single day. Eala is seeded 29th. If she gets past her first 3 matches, she'll be facing a top 8 player at Wimbledon. And she's 21 years old. She lost in the first round of Wimbledon last year, not the second round, the first. She's never gone deep at a major. She's never won more than 4 matches at a Grand Slam in a single run. The grass court form is real. The ranking is real. The seed is real and historic. But the level of competition ahead is just as real. So, here's the honest question for this video. Do you think she has a genuine shot at the Wimbledon quarterfinal? Be honest. Drop yes or no in the comments right now, because if she gets there and you called it early, you're going to want that comment still sitting there. Let's go back to it. 29th seed, Wimbledon 2026, first Filipino in history. Full stop. Not first this year. Not first in recent memory. First ever. In over 100 years of Wimbledon, no Filipino player had ever entered that draw as a seeded competitor. She's also the first player from all of Southeast Asia to be seeded at a Grand Slam since Thailand's Tamarine Tanasugarn back in 2009, 17 years. Nobody from this entire region, representing hundreds of millions of people across multiple nations, had earned a Wimbledon seed in 17 years. And now here's this girl from Pasig City, first coached by a grandfather with a basket of tennis balls, who flew to Spain at 13 with no blueprint to follow, who got blown off the court in Rome, and quietly came back to beat 2 Grand Slam champions on grass in the same week. She's that person. Manny Pacquiao saw it on national television. The greatest Filipino athlete who has ever lived, the man who fought for this country in the ring for decades and made the entire world say the word Philippines every time he stepped out, watched Alex Eala play and said he was proud of her when he watched her on court. Greg Rusedski put it even more directly, calling her the Manny Pacquiao of the Philippines. Think about the weight of that comparison. That's not a tennis compliment. That's a once-in-a-generation compliment. That's someone saying this player isn't just talented at a sport. This player has become a national identity, the example a country points to and says, look what one of us can do. 29th seed. First Filipino. And Manny Pacquiao is watching. But here's the part of this story that will stay with you. After Eala beat Rybakina and her fellow Grand Slam champion back-to-back in Berlin, she sat down for an interview. Someone asked what it meant to be seeded at Wimbledon for the first time. She said that becoming a seed at a slam, and Wimbledon especially, felt deeply personal to her, close to home. Not close to her career goals. Not close to her ranking targets. Close to home. Because for Eala, home was never just the Philippines as a concept. Home is a court in Pasig City. Home is a grandfather who showed up every single day with a basket of tennis balls. Home is a man named Lolo Bob, who wasn't a professional coach, who had no WTA connections, who had no roadmap for getting a girl to Wimbledon, but who knew how to show up, how to put in the work, and how to love someone fiercely enough that they'd carry it with them onto every court in the world. He died in 2019. He never saw Miami. He never saw Berlin. He never saw the seed. But she said it herself. He was the one who showed up every day and put in the work, and so much of her foundation, her mentality, and her courage on court comes from the tough love and sacrifice he gave her. She walks into Wimbledon on June 29th as the 29th seed. Her grandfather won't be in the stands. But if you watch her play, watch how she carries herself, watch how she doesn't panic under pressure, watch how she simply goes back to work after a loss. You'll see him in every single shot. That's who Alex Eala is. That's why 115 million people are watching. And that's why Manny Pacquiao stopped what he was doing to say he was proud. Wimbledon starts June 29th. Eala is seeded 29th. The draw drops this weekend. So we're asking you directly, how far does she go? First round exit? Quarterfinal? Does she make history again and go further than any Filipino woman ever has at a Grand Slam? Drop your prediction in the comments right now because this story is far from over. Tennis Unfiltered.